Morning, everybody. My cameraman, camera lady, so I was sitting up the shot right now.
There we go.
There they are, folks. Good morning. Happy Sunday, Funday. We are underway. Everything's okay.
Oh my
Today.
goodness.
Yes.
Okay, let's do the class.
Yeah, just do the class, forget the rhyming word thing. Okay. To get started today, we're going to come to the center parts of our mat with our feet ankling straight forward. We're going to bring some straightness to the legs, and we're going to begin to pull in that, engage that muscular belly of ours as we start to elongate through the spine and draw the shoulders up to the ears. I'd like you to take your hands and separate them widely and kind of like rotate them into the sides. So the fingers are kind of pointing in with a slight cupping in the hand. Nice. Now let's hold on this as we begin to rotate open the palm or the hand. We've kept that underlying inwardly rotated palm with the cup. Big inhale as we roll the spine, keep the neck, all that other area relaxed. On the next breath as you release it, just shake out everything. And then step our feet out a little wider. Bring your heels to the edges of the mat. And then let's take our toes and rotate them internal. So this inward rotation, we're going to kind of explore a little bit. We're going to bring some straightness to the legs. I'd like you to take the ball of each big toe, separated by your feet, of course, on your separate feet, and then push it into the mat, and then draw the hips backwards, just ever so slightly. As we begin to experience that forward lean, I'd like you to engage the six-pack muscle. And once again, we're going to bring our hands cupped, rotated internally. I'm going to ask you to rotate all the way through and then all the way externally. Rotate them as far back as you can. Draw the arms long and keep that cupping in place, and then sweep the hands backwards. Hold on this for a breath. And as you release the breath, let's bring it forward up shoulder height. Now we're going to keep that cupping in the hands and bring fingertips together. I'm going to ask you to take your elbows and rotate them towards the earth and use your fingers cupped to pull the arms long, like the whole shoulder carriage is shifting forward in the body. We're going to keep this nice recruitment as I ask you to now draw back the hips. And I'm trying right now to kind of reduce some of our anterior front muscle loading by loading into our posterior muscles. So as we hold back here, I'd like you to maintain that push, strong push of the ball of each big toe into the mat, and then bring some straightness to the legs and draw the hips back a little more if you can. You're going to hold on this, push the fingertips together now, push and rotate. So push fingertips, rotate elbows, take a big inhale, and as you exhale, bring hands over heart, stand tall, and then align your toes straight forward. You're going to take the booty now and begin to work more posterior loading if we can by drawing back your butt, engaging your six-pack, and beginning to descend down. Now, the descent, try not to push forward with the knees. We're going to try to pull back with the hips and lower down simultaneously, and then rise back up. We're really vascularizing the muscles. When we start to use them, we get more blood flow, of course. So I'm going to ask you to slowly go down, slowly go up. Explore the range on the down and stand tall when you come all the way up. And again, it's more rehearsing here on loading principles. We're trying to load posterior chains by keeping those hips back. And we're going to add into this. So the progression is when we come down, you're pushing the ball of each big toe into the mat as best you can. And when you come up, there's a implied external rotation of the heels. But we're not really physically moving them. We're just engaging them as we come up and the ball of each big toe when we come down. And we're exploring the range on the down, of course. A couple more repetitions. Very important now. Hold down. Try to push your heels off the center line and slowly come up. Hold up. Take the ball of each big toe, push it into the mat, and slowly lower down. Hold down, switch the ball of the big toe to the heels, externally rotate, slowly rise, And if you're feeling burning, good, we're gonna do it one more time. Balls push, hips lower. And heels rotate externally and rise. Come up, shake it out. Class is done, just kidding. All right, let's drop your arms beside the body. Pull your shoulders up to the ears and open the palms to face forward. So that exercise is great. If you sit for any period of time, you need to get your legs, blood flow recirculating. You could do it in class if you wanted to do that. If you have class, no one's got class, okay. Now we're gonna pull our elbows backwards, palms are facing straight forward, or our best version thereof, with fingers spread widely. We're gonna hold on this for a couple seconds, and then we're gonna progress this a little bit. We're still warming up, so progression means more effort. So effort is gated, excuse me, gauged by what it feels body appropriate today. Here we go. I'd like you to squeeze the elbows together and then sweep the hands open. So we've kept that little bend, less than 90 degrees, or actually greater than 90 degrees in the elbow. It's more obtuse. Palms are kind of rotating away from the body. On your next breath, I'd like you to kind of slowly present the arms away. Hands are moving away from the center line, facing up to the sky, keeping that nice open finger situation. And then, like we practiced earlier, we rotate it internally. We kind of flip the palms in. I'd like you to do the same while you keep those fingers separated widely. Beautiful. Now, straighten out through the elbows, almost like someone's grabbed around the palm of your hand, and pull those arms out and away from your center line. Keep that pull external, away from center line as you draw back the hands. Feel that nice opening through the chest. Make sure your neck is free and unencumbered by this stress that we're applying, hopefully, to the muscles of the upper back. And then as you release your next breath, salute the sun. Inhale, exhale, fold down. Wow, hard to imagine this is a workout. It feels more like exercise. All right, inhale, extend to a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, extend. Exhale, fold. As you inhale, extend this time, hold the extension, draw back the hips. Now, as we work to lengthen those hammies of ours, I'd like you to make a push again of those big ball of each big toe. And then from that push, I'd like you to straighten through the knees. You can kind of feel the belly and maybe even the ends of your hamstrings kind of getting a nice pull. There's tension in those muscles, but it's a good tension. Draw back the hips a little more and see if you can straighten the legs a little better. Now, as we draw back, your ability to push the ball of each big toe is going to be diminished, but I want you to exert the same type of effort, almost like you're trying to push yourself backwards. Hold on this as you inhale, and relax everything as you exhale. Pilates style, up we come. We're going to stack each vertebrae of the spine all the way up. Shoulders draw to ears, elbows pull back, and we're going to present the hands, our palms to the sky, and take a deep breath as we exhale that. I'd like you to lower the right ear towards the right shoulder, and then bring your head back up and descend to the opposite side. You might notice that the range on one side is different than the other as we slowly oscillate from side to side. I'd like you to keep the shoulders calm, so we're not raising them to get the ear, shoulder closeness. It doesn't matter. It's more about elongation of both sides of the neck. Of course, the one side we're lengthening is going to be a little longer than the other side. And then let's bring it back straight and then drop the chin into the chest. And then as you elevate, let's elevate by imagining a string on the back of the head, pulling high to the sky, and then chin dropping down into the chest. Back of head and string pulls to the sky, and chin drops back down. Hold on the down. And then as we elevate that head again, let's slowly rotate to the right. And center and left. And do that a couple more times. As you translate the head from side to side, watch what's going on with the shoulders. See if you can kind of keep them nestled. Often what happens is there's about 17 muscles that interact with our shoulder blades. A lot of them originate off of our head or neck. And sometimes when they're fused, they pull slightly differently. The key here is to kind of keep the head rotating and lengthen out those muscles that often get beat up from our sedentary behavior. Good stretch to do during the day. All right, now let's relax. Step your feet back together. We're going to bring the heels together and open up the feet so that they're off the center line. I'd like you to snap those knees together. We're going to create a recruitment, hopefully in and around those glutes of yourself. Let's draw the elbows back as far back as you can. Snap those knees. Fill those lungs with air. And as you exhale, I'd like you to chop through the hips and fold in ever so slightly. Now, as you fold in, I'd like you to try to pull the legs together. Then hold that pull for a couple breaths. While we're here, we're going to serve up the arms straight forward. We're going to keep them shoulder width apart today. And we're just adding a little more work there. Now, try to keep the heels, backs of the knees, thighs pulling together as you pull back the hips and extend the arms forward. Now, turn the palms to face. Bring the fingertips together, kind of like you got a big coconut in the hand. You're kind of wrapped around it with your fingers. Palms are cupped. Fingers push hard. Elbows spiral to the earth as you use that finger base of yours to pull the arms forward. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, stand it up. Straighten out those feet, aiming straight forward with hands over heart. Good morning, everybody. Are we having fun yet? All right. Now that we've kind of warmed up the body, let's put it to work. Let's push the hands to the sky. Big inhale. Powerful exhale. Fold all the way down. Step it back to a plank pose. I know Kirsten's going to love this. Not because of her thighs, no, her triceps are all worked out from yesterday. We're going to hold in this plank for a second. Just make sure your legs are long. So we've not bent for the knees. Straighten them out as best you can. And you're driving your heels backwards, not pulling back with them, just driving them down towards the earth. Let's bring the knees down to your mat. Let's reposition your hands out so that the baby fingers are on the sides of the mat. And we're going to rotate everything towards the center line with fingers separated wide, kind of like a frog pose, if you will. We're still on all fours. I'd like you to kind of check down and see how your arms and your thighs align under your shoulders and your hips. Now, if possible, try to get the knees directly under the hips. Keep your toes tucked. Everything's about hip width apart down there. And hand-wise, we're wider than shoulder width, but the hands themselves would be directly under that line from the shoulders to the ground. And once we're kind of in that spot, I'd like you to take your arms and straighten out the elbows, and then take your spine, the upper back, and let it flex. Just like you've got an imaginary string pulling towards the sky, you're going to tuck your hips under. So your pubis pulls in towards your belly, and you let the head descend towards the earth. And we're going to hold on this for a couple breaths. Now, this is hugely representative of how our sedentary lives are. There's a lot of inward rotation through the upper body and also interior rotation through our lower body. So this is not desirable for training. However, it's a good engagement of those muscles. As we begin to engage them, we're going to allow the chest to drop in between the arms. We're going to take the tailbone and we're going to slightly rotate it to the sky. And we're going to imagine that our torso, as it descends through the arms, we've kept those elbows straight. And now we're going to take our hands and step them so the fingers go off the mat with the heel of the hand on the mat. And we're going to rotate our elbows into the center line as we maintain that strong pull along the spinal column. It's really the head pulling out and away from the body. Now, while we're here, let's pull your belly towards the spinal column and begin to rotate internally. Your pubis rotating in towards your belly, holding on this. This is a strong recruitment through those core muscles, like the six pack, and also up and into the rest of the core. And you can kind of imagine if I was going to fire cannonball into the belly, that's the kind of contraction I want you to try to mirror as best you can. Pulling up and in and being very super protective of the spinal column. And as you release that breath, let's step the hands straight forward and let's just do a few cat and cow positions. So the head drops, spine pulls to the sky, gets tucked under, and we reverse this. Relatively straightforward, easy stuff, well practiced because we've done this a million times, but just kind of reprieving the muscles that we've just been working and activating and getting some blood flow into them as we both take them on to a different journey. All right, let's neutralize this. And we're going to set up for the next segment here. I'd like you to take your butt and pull it down towards your heels. Now, if your knees need cushioning, of course, you know what to do. Grab some towels. And if it's too much, just don't go as deep as I'm asking you to go. Again, it's all about body's permission today. And while we hold here, I'd like you to now go into the cat-cow thing. So I'd like you to kind of pull the spinal column, kind of like a 45-degree angle, creating a lot of internal rotation of the upper body, but a nice stretch, hopefully, down into the low back area. We're going to float the upper body forward, reverse this, then come back to where you just were and float it backwards towards hips, floating towards the heels. And then releasing it forward, back of head, tailbone flipping to the sky, coming back to our cat-like position, and then floating it backwards. And then floating it forwards, making it neutral. Remember, we had our toes tucked, float up the knees, draw back the hips towards the heels. Flex the spine, float it forward, try to keep those knees up and off the earth. So we're floating it backwards, so we're doing the same exercise, up and off the knees. Let's do it one more time. Oh, a lot of work. Now pull your hips up to down dog. Walk your hands back towards your feet. Get off those wrists of ours. We're in a folded position. Inhale, extend to a flat back. While we maintain that spinal extension, step your feet out to the edges of the mat. And then take your toes, turn them into the center line. As you inhale, extend. A little deeper, and then draw back the hips a little more. And then walk your hands to your shins. So the back is in the tabletop position. Snap out those knees, elongate the spine. Draw the hips back, do not topple over those heels of ours. Just enough weight to get that sensation. And then backing off just ever so slightly. Most important here, straightness through the legs, length through the spine. Now push the palms into the shins. See if you can grow the spine a little more. Beautiful. Fill those lungs with air. And as you exhale, let's walk the hands up and onto the thighs, and then keep the legs in position, but imagine the chop point of your hips. We're going to use the arms to kind of help the upper body to rise with a forward lean. So we have palms still on the thighs. Now, we're going to take those palms off, draw the elbows back, squeeze them together, and make your hands into little fists with your thumbs pointing straight up. Hold on this. Now, we're gonna basically use, you know, the old analogy of that bird that our parents used to have, where the beak used to go into the cup and drink and come back up. We're gonna do this. And we're the bird this time. So before we go though, I'd like you to take your heels and try to push them away from the center line and then raise the upper body. So there's movement, but only through the hips. We're not spinally flexing, we're not moving the pelvic girdle, we're just letting the chop happen through the hips. We're gonna keep all of that upper body mass of muscle that we've engaged active as we raise and lower. When you raise, I'd like you to keep those knees straight and push through the hips, but when you push through the hips, really engage that six pack so we're not arching through that low back. Now come back down and rep this out, slowly down and slowly up through the whole range. External rotation of the heels. Keep those muscles, very small muscles. You should feel them burning when we raise and lower. You're keeping it active. Coming down. Rising back up. Couple more times. Now, holding up, bringing the hands over hearts. Let's take the right foot, step it forward, up on the toes of that back foot. You're right, this mat is really slippery. All right, so in this position, we have a nice separation front to back and side to side where we're nice and stable. So if I came and gave you a little shove, oh, you'd be able to catch your balance. No, we're all there, I guess. Now, hands are going to remain over heart. The ball of the big toe, I'll leave you to kind of drive it, push it, give you as much effort in making sure we have that nice, solid kinetic connection, the initiation of a nice chain of kinetic movement right there happening now. Keep that active as we fold in, as we fold onto that front leg. It's an extended spine. We're not compromising or bending to get lower. We're going to keep the spine long and really load into that chain of muscle, posterior chain. You should feel hammy and gluteal muscles kind of going, oh, lean in a little deeper. Try to make that leg a little straighter. Most important, to keep the ball of that big toe driving into the mat, and then rise back up, switch up sides. This exercise is a progression. So as we progress, if the prior state was perfect enough for your work, for your body today, you're going to live that spot. Now, same thing. Ball of big toe. We got the nice separation front to back, side to side. Keep that ball driving in, hands still over heart, spine long, and we're beginning the descent down, holding on this, and trying to find a little experimentation with depth. Where can you go? Do I get to a spot? Do I need to stay there? Can I explore without compromising the form of the upper body? A little more depth, a little more rotation for the hip. Am I talking it to death? Yeah. Trying to get your mind off the pain. Coming back up and switching up sides. Here we go. Progressions are always good. Same setup as we started with. Follow it through. Begin to load into it. Keep that ball driving to the mat. Keep that leg straight as you can. Keep that upper body long as you can. Push those hands forward. That's going to amplify the load into these muscles. Too much, you can go back with hands over heart. Hold on this for a second or two. Bring the fingertips together. Big coconut in between. Push the palms, rotate the elbows down. Reach those arms forward. Hands come over heart. Back foot steps forward. Switch up the sides. Same thing. Starting hands over heart. Keep the ball pushing as you lower down. You can see I'm a little more challenged on this side because my balance is better on the other leg. Maybe you're the same.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, made you look. All right. Hitting that depth, adding in now. Arms extending forward, holding out, holding on this until we bring fingertips together, rotating the elbows towards the earth, pulling that whole arm carriage forward more. And taking the breath, releasing it, stepping forward, and breaking into a sweat. Good stuff. Same setup, opposite side. Here we go. If you have a little bit of shaking going on in those muscles, perfect, that's the sign of change. All right. Starting with hands over heart, finding that depth, we're coming down into it, remaining with that ball pushing. Best effort to the mat. Nice. Now, shoot the arms forward. Separate them shoulder width. We're going to sweep back the arms first. Bend the elbows, pull them back and through. Squeeze them together. On the next breath, as you release it, come forward with the arms. Couple them together. Coconut in between palms. Push fingertips. Rotate elbows towards the earth, pull those arms away from the body, and then sweep it back, bend the elbows, pull it back, pull, open through the chest, crowd it out, come back forward, connect the dots, the fingertips, push, rotate elbows, pull, take a deep breath, arms come back over heart, hands it in, step forward, opposite side. Oh, how much fun is this? Can't put into words. Now, lean it in. You may notice the strength, one side differs from the other. Maintaining the ball push, very key. Keep it connected kinetically. Push those hands forward. Draw those elbows back. Pull back. Route out the chest. Lean in a little deeper if you can. Push those arms forward. Fingertips come together this time. Wrap the coconut, push the tips, rotate the elbows down, pull the arms. Good job. Now, pull the elbows back, sweep them all the way back, proud of the chest. And come back one more time, arms forward, same setup, push the fingertips, pull, rotate elbows, earth, pull, arms, bring them back over heart, step it back. Great job. You look like you're not even sweating.
It's easy, sweetie.
It's easy. Okay. Arms, you're doing it wrong then. Sweep up to the sky to salute the sun. As you fold this time, take it all the way down to your mat. Grab some water. Oh, it's like cocktail hour on the boat. Right, lovey? Thurston Howell III. Good stuff. All right. When we come down onto the mats, we're going to lie it all the way down.
Oh, waiting for this.
Yes, someone said she's been waiting for this. Yeah. Say goodnight to Kirsten.
Oh,
All right. Going to go with a nice, reliable, good beginning stretch. And I call it supine or lying on your backside, figure 4. That left foot is posted onto my mats. You could use right or left. We're going to do both sides. It doesn't matter where you start. We're going to make sure we have flexion in the foot that's on the thigh. And with that flexion, I'm going to ask you to kind of ground your low back. And how you're going to do that is what we practice is that pelvic rotation, external and internal. And we all know the internal part is like when we pull the pubis up and towards the spine. On your mat, you should kind of feel the low back skin get close to or be connected with your mat. If you can get it connected, keep it connected. If it's not there, just keep the engagement of muscle that tries to get it there. Now with that, I'm going to ask you to take the right knee or left knee, whatever's on, floating in the air and rotate it away from the body. So we're kind of using our ankle area that's on our thigh as a hinge. And keep that external rotation. And then switch up sides. You're gonna relax one, set up the opposite side. Very important that we have that low back grounding, if you will. That recruitment of muscle, that very important. It's going to stabilize that lumbar spine as we work on our hip rotation. In this case, it's external rotators. We're actively using them right now. It's really more of a stretch for those muscles. Kind of pull across any kind of tissue that kind of gets
knot it up. And then we're gonna release that. We're gonna bring both knees up and into the chest and then simply circle them independently. Doesn't matter which way you started your circles, we're gonna go the opposite way. And then let's reverse the circle. And then calmness. And we're gonna extend the legs all the way straight and bring hands over chest. Reaching for the sky, drop your chin in, and let's bring this up Pilates style slowly. Just enjoy the journey. And then dive down fingertips for a nice stretch through the thoracolumbar fascia, that lower low back tissue. To feel nice, calm, relaxed. Let your head come relax. You can kind of rotate it from side to side. And then just let it drop. As you inhale, come up to a seated position and sweep your legs all the way around. And we're going to come down to a prone or a face down position on our mats. I'm going to let the tops of my feet be my representative of the foot so that they're connected with the earth, with a nice opening for that ankle area. So ankle extension is very important because normally when we sit, our ankles are flexed. So this is a nice little stretch. I'm stepping my arms underneath my shoulders, kind of like a baby cobra sorts. I've interlocked my fingers, but I've positioned, I positioned my elbows so that they're kind of underneath my shoulders. And I'm going to walk them forward just a little more so that the elbows are slightly forward of the shoulder carriage. Now I'm just going to oscillate down and up through my upper arm. So this is my torso moving up and down. And really what's happening here is we're working the muscles of our shoulder blades. They're rotating internally when we come up and externally when we lower. And we're going to work on the external rotation to kind of combat our internal rotational behavior, which typically happens when we sit. So we're going to sit in the down position. So our right now, shoulders are more externally rotated than internally rotated. And we're going to enjoy this for a couple of breaths. While we do this, though, we're going to ask our neck to get nice and long. I'm going to proud out the chest. And as we proud out the chest, I'm going to ask you to engage your six-pack muscles and grow the spinal column. And try not to let your torso rise out of those arms. Try to keep them nice and low. And as you release the next breath, let's step your hands under the shoulders and take your chest down onto the mat. We're going to float the face above the mat. Now I'm going to ask you to check in with your shoulders. Now, internal rotation is a behavioral thing, and it's kind of learned as we sit and let the body do, it becomes our normal. So our normal might be where our shoulders are rotated onto the mat. I'd like you to make sure you keep your neck relaxed, but we're going to pull the shoulders up off the mat. We can use the arms to help with this process, but preferably if you could just pull the muscles or activate the muscles that pull the shoulders up. We're going to hold on this, couple breaths. Now, if your head or neck feels like it needs support, you can actually take your hands over and just put your forehead down on them. So we're going to just do that to take a break. And then while we're here, I'm going to ask you to lift your shoulders up off the mat and then lift the back of the head up off the mat. So we're just simply elevating the head. It's almost like you've got a string on the back part of the head, pulling it to the sky. And then lowering the string down, letting the shoulders rotate internally, rotating the shoulders externally, and lifting up the back of the head. And then lower down, rotate inwardly, external rotation and elevation of the head. Do that a couple more times. Now, after you rehearse things a few times, you might find your ability to do what's being asked a little better. You know, a little more credible. Now let's hold in the up position. Let's walk the hands back, position them wider than the shoulders, keeping that neck nice and long. And we're going to use the arms to help lengthen the thoracic or upper spine. So it's kind of like a baby cobra of sorts. Hold the neck long, make sure there's tension free through that region. Fill the lungs there, and as you exhale, lower down, roll onto your right side. Oh. I like my the hands to support my head, so I've got to put the palm underneath my head. I'm taking my right leg, making it straight. In terms of line, if you imagine the shoulder, hip, and the heel, the right side of the body, all in the same line. Now, I'm going to ask you to bring your left knee up about hip level, keep the bend in that left knee, and point the toes on your left foot. Point the toes on your right foot. So we've externally opened up for that ankle. So we have external ankle rotation. Now I'm going to ask you to take your foot and rotate it with the open foot, that is. Rotate it up towards the sky and then rotate it back towards the earth. So it's basically two sides, the big toe rotating inwardly and pulling to the sky, and then the side of the foot rotating back to the earth position.
Which foot?
This is the right foot, of course. Mhm.
It's not of course.
It is, of course, because you couldn't do it on the left side. All right, so now that we've done it a few times, that's working on ankle mobility and ankle strengthening. We're going to take the foot now, bring it to flexion, push the heel away from the body, and lift the left leg up off the earth.
Left.
The right leg, sorry, the right leg up off the earth. Yes, I know, right leg. So the right heel, right leg straight, right leg lifts. And lower back down and lift back up. So these are the medial muscles of your leg, upper thigh in particular, working. Try not to let the knee bend. We don't want the lower leg muscles assisting with the work of the upper leg muscles right now. We want to put as much load as we can into those internal rotators as we exercise them. Now, lower that right leg, switch up sides, same setup, opposite side. Oh, rolling over. Point both sets of toes, right knee comes up about right hip. And we're going to begin ankle mobility. Take the left toes, rotate them up to the sky, and then the outside of the left foot rotates down to the earth. You may notice that this is not a strenuous exercise. It's just a mobility exercise, and it really works with some of the smaller muscles that interact with your ankle on, in this case, the left foot. And then on this next rep, hold it down, flex the foot, and now we're going to keep that left foot flexed as we raise that left leg into the air and then lower it down. We have that heel of the left foot pushing actively away from the body, keeping the kinetic chain through the knees, the knee in this case, nicely active. So the knee itself is relatively immobile as we slowly raise and lower with foot flexed, that left leg, one more rep. And as you lower down, let's bring the legs forward as we come all the way around back to a seated position. There's everyone's beautiful faces. Oh, seems like a hard, easy exercise, but in many cases it's very hard. Those are muscles that we typically don't exercise or get the opportunity to. Now, cheers to everybody. All right, so we're going to come into staff pose with feet about
mat width apart. We're gonna bring our hands out to the sides of the body. Now, inward rotation is normally an expression behavioral thing because our body's postural behavior becomes normalized. So if this is what you're looking or experiencing right now, I'd like you to change that normal by pulling long the spinal column towards the sky. And letting the shoulders kind of sit down and nestle. This is why we have the arms out, so we can kind of experience some external shoulder rotation as we sit. So I'm gonna ask you to walk your fingers out the way and then start walking them backwards. And as you walk backwards, I'd like you to proud out the chest. I'd like you to do two things. Pulling the shoulders high to the sky, but not beyond the point where your fingertips can touch your mat and walk. So the shoulders are pulling high and fingertips are walking backwards. And then your chest is opening and expanding. So we're walking the fingers away diagonally, not just out from the side and not just directly backwards, but a 45-degree angle. We're gonna hold on this for a couple breaths. Let's make sure you're tension-free through the neck. In fact, let's do this. Let's take your head, rotate it to the right. Come back center and go left. And articulate it from side to side a couple times. And then come back. And take it back down onto the mat. I'm gonna reposition just to have, a little space for my head to land. Nice, now. We did figure 4. Now we're gonna do a different stretch where it's one of my oldies but goodies. Where we wrap the legs this time. I'm starting with right leg over left, and I'm gonna bring my left leg to the right side of the body. I'm initiating the pull of that leg with the right leg. So the right leg is actually pulling the left. And I'm gonna initiate a little bit of resistance with that left leg. I'm gonna try to rotate it externally as my right leg rotates it or pulls it internally. So now we have both legs and the external rotator is active. Right external because we're pulling with it. Left external because we're resisting with that. So we're gonna hold on this for a couple breaths. And then build this stretch by taking the left hand, reaching it to the sky, and taking that left arm and pulling it directly backwards. And then pull. Remember how we practice pulling with the fingers? Pull the arm long. Take your head and rotate it towards the right. Drop your chin towards the shoulder, the right shoulder. And let's release this stretch, come back onto your backside, set up the opposite side. Little nuance to what we typically do, but nonetheless, still a really effective stretch. In this case, both towards external rotators, a little bit of antagonistic work, right resisting left, and vice versa. Take your right arm directly up to the sky. You'll notice that none of my leg are touching anything. They're kind of elevated because the tug of war is really going on. Let's reach back, right arm, pull long, get that nice deep length through all that right side. Let's take your head and rotate it towards the left side and drop your chin onto your left shoulder. Make sure you're not breaking through the elbow, you're pulling that arm long. And then come back up to your backside. Separate the legs, pull the knees up into the chest, rock and roll up to the seated position again. Awesome. Figure 4, seated position. We got this figure 4, we got a couple stretches to finish off. We're going to descend the right body, the upper body over the right leg. We release from this, we're going to switch up sides.
Or if you're thoroughly enjoying like someone sitting beside me, you could just hang out on that one spot. So there's lots of conversation about how long stretches should be held for. 20 to 30 seconds is normally the optimal amount. Now, longer than 30 seconds, you still derive benefits from that stretch, but the productivity of it falls off. And that's why it's normally recommended 20 to 30 seconds. Longer, again, if you have the time to do it, go for it. Let's come back up. The seated position, I'm going to cross my legs. I'm going to bring my hands over hearts, and I'm going to thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you being here for Sunday Funday.
Namaste.
Namaste. Even got a rhyme in at the end there.
Okay.
Look at the girls.